What's going on, Tobin? Once again, appreciate it. I have a few questions for you. It's going to be like 1A, 1A, 1B. And so, going back to like free agency and, Russell Westbrook has been thrown. And before you say anything about Russell Westbrook, he's my favorite player. You can be hard of him, but I just want to make sure you know that. He's my favorite player. I go to war for that dude. You brought up stuff, we need guard help because, we was relying on Patty Mills in the playoffs in some situations, DeLon Wright with Terry dealing with the neck injury, and all that other stuff. So, and Tyler shown that I don't really trust him at the one. So we really need that backup position. Do you think Russ is a legit like an option for the Miami Heat? Do you think that happens? Do you think that's just a smoke screen? Do you think it's just a bunch of rumors? With the offseason being here and Heat are gonna always be thrown at somewhat big names all the time? Or do you think there's a chance that, Russ can opt out of his option deal with the Clippers and, look at Miami as a destination?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's funny. It's like you guys were eavesdropping before I got on the air with you. I explored a little bit of this today on the channel about the Russ thing because I don't know if you probably saw the same thing that Bovada had him as like the Heat are the favorite to land him. It's also interesting because it coincides with Nikola Jovic over the weekend saying that was his favorite player of all time. So that's kind of cool. Definitely not writing it off because it's been a name that's always kind of circled and bantied about with the Heat. And I think the things that I like that Russ could bring to the table, first off, is like you have two guys at the top of your payroll in Jimmy and Tyler who have durability issues and miss regular season time. Kind of similar to what he was dealing with the Clippers. Like he had to be in a place where he was more the filler. Like he's filling in all these other spots when these guys can't necessarily go. So I think that there's a value in that because this guy knows what it's like to be the leading scorer. He knows where to get his teammates involved. He's worked with skilled bigs. So I don't dismiss it. I don't know how happy Russ would be in a role like that again because I don't know what he wants. I don't know if he wants to go to a place where he has a bigger role because I don't, he probably look how many guys it took to basically get him on the bench in LA. So I don't know how thrilled he would be. And I don't know how crazy the Heat are about bringing in another aging point guard like they did with Kyle Lowry, even though they're very different players. If that's something they're into, but you'd have a UCLA connection, his relationship with Kevin Love, the Jaime Jaquez. So you'd have like that little contingent there. I could see that being something that could be valuable to Miami for sure. I'm not against it. I think I'd be more for it than I would be against it. There's just questions about, his happiness that he would have here because I think you're almost using it. I can almost see Russ as like in spots being like a Band-Aid for Miami in big time spots if somebody goes down. And I don't know if that's something that's going to make him happy or if he would be into doing that in a place like this.
Yeah, Russ does come with a lot. Trust me, I know him as my favorite player, so I know what he comes with, the positive and negative. But my second question would be, outside of like the big whales, Donovan Mitchell, Murray, Trae Young, and stuff like that, we're going to be losing some big pieces this offseason with Caleb Martin and possibly Haywood Highsmith. And I think we all love Caleb Martin. Haywood Highsmith, I'm on the edge with. Outside of that playoff performance, 3 for 16 at the three-point line, I believe around there was something that I noticed a lot. But I do think they're both going to get paid a lot of money, well deserved to them. But like, what's some options to replace them? Like, are we going to look at the draft with our 2 picks? Are we going to look at free agency? And I understand free agency is probably not the best. I'm looking at players like Lonnie Walker, and it's not really a replacement of Kogi. Like, those are kind of the options that we're looking at, and also that we can afford. So like, are we going to go with Jamal Cain, Alonzo Williams? Like, what direction do you think we're going to go to replace them? Because I do think if we don't trade anybody for a star, we're going to have Jaime there at least, and Jovic, but Caleb and Haywood are probably going to be gone. And those are, like I said earlier, some big losses.
Yeah, I think that, from Caleb's standpoint, I think that they'll be, from an offensive standpoint, okay, because the way I look at it is that's going to be a lot of like Jaime is going to be the spark next year, right? If he comes back, I think Jaime is going to be, the spark scorer. the main guy off the bench, the main guy who's going to provide the offense. It's going to probably feature him. He's going to be the Energizer Bunny. Obviously has to get better and more reliable as a shooter, just like Caleb Martin did. Threw him to the Wolves defensively last year, and they're really, I think he knows that he has to get better at it, but you know, he's never scared of the challenge. He takes these things on. I think in those moments in the play-in and before he got her in the playoffs, like you saw a guy who wasn't afraid of the moment. So I think that there's a lot of Caleb that's going to be okay with just the growth of Jaime Jaquez Jr. With Haywood being gone, like who's that guy who's just going to be your specialist lock guys down? If they bring, you know, DeLon back, I mean, DeLon can handle, I think, some of that stuff on the wing for sure. For bigger guys, I don't know. That's still a question remain. I really, really, really like Jamal Cain as a player. I like his attitude. Has a bit of a cockiness to him that his teammates play about. Like he really has a lot of strong belief in himself. He's like Haywood has been. He works with Karan Butler as his development coach. And Karan just seems to know how to infuse a lot of that greatness out of guys, especially when it comes to a shooting perspective. And I could see if I had to give somebody as an heir apparent to like the Sioux Falls system that's going to turn into something, I would guess him, just because he's one of those guys that will find offensive rebounds and putbacks and doesn't necessarily need the ball, but I think is also not scared to shoot in big moments. I don't necessarily know if he can provide the defensive pressure that Haywood could, because not few can. I mean, that's how great Haywood Highsmith is at defense. And Haywood looks like in tremendous shape this summer as well. Like he looks like he's really revving himself up for whatever team he lands on. But if I had to guess, I would say Jamal's probably the guy as on the outskirts, and then the big guy they'll look for the production that they're going to lose with Caleb is just going to be more from Jaime Jaquez.